mortgage markets, and more. I'm your host, Peter D'Angelo. I hope you all had an awesome week. Today is my favorite episode to do every month for our real estate update, and that is the National Association of Realtors published their existing home sales data for March. We're going to dive right into all the goodness to get a sense of what the home sales look like. What was the landscape looking like in March? We're going to have some context for as to maybe why all of these numbers turned out the way that they did, and that'll be a little bit more toward the end of the episode. But to start off, let's just look at the seasonally adjusted figures for the home sales data for existing homes. This isn't new construction, existing homes throughout the country. In March of 2024, sales decreased by 4.3%, and we're at a seasonally adjusted rate of 4.19 million units, and that's down from 4.38 million in February of this year. Year over year, sales fell 3.7%, and that's down from 4.35 million in March of 2023. The median existing home sales price, that rose 4.8% from March of 2023 to $393,500. Again, the median price helps us to avoid the outliers in the data. It's the most commonly occurring number when we take a look at all of the homes that were sold in March, the existing homes. That average, the median price was $393,500. Let's break this down region by region. So I am in the Northeast. So the Northeast rose 4.2% to have 500,000 units sold. The Midwest sales decreased 1.9% for a little over 1 million units sold. The South declined 5.9% to 1.9 million. The West also slumped 8.2% to 780,000 units. And the median prices for these regions, the Northeast saw a median sales price of $434,600. That's up 9.9%. The Midwest saw $292,400 as a median sales price. That's also up, but that's up 7.5%. The South saw an increase also to $359,100. That's the median price there, 3.4% up. And the West saw $603,000 as their median sales price, which indicates an increase of 6.7% appreciation. So values are up. Inventory is a little bit all over the place when we look at how much is sold in these different regions, but supply and demand again, less available, higher price points. The demand from buyers is still very strong, even though these sales figures are quite a bit softer than what we've been seeing in recent months. Let's look at the existing home sales data, breaking down single-family homes and condo co-ops. So single-family home sales declined to 3.8 million, again, seasonally adjusted, in March, and the median price was $397,200. So we saw the price is still going up a bit, and the volume of sales is down for single-family homes. Existing condos and co-ops, those sales were at 390,000 units seasonally adjusted, and that's indicating also a median sales price of $357,400. So between condo, co-op, and single-family homes, pretty close as far as the median is concerned. Again, the median helps us to avoid the outliers. So if stuff is selling for really high and something for really low, both ends of the spectrum kind of get eliminated. That's why we use the median. The inventory, this is what's particularly interesting as we're heading into the spring market, and we're kind of in it already now. The inventory of unsold homes increased 4.7% from 1 month ago to 1.11 million units that are available to purchase. And that indicates a 3.2-month supply. We're still very light on the supply. We're kind of stagnating in this 3 to 3.3 month range. The housing inventory registered 14.4% increase year over year from 970,000 units in March of 2023. So there's more volume actually happening when we take a look back to March of 2023. However, the recent trend in recent months, we're seeing a decline in home sales. Properties were typically on the market in March for 33 days. That is down from 38 days on average in February, but also up from 29 days in March of 2023. So transactions were happening a little faster in March of 2023 than they are now. However, the speed is definitely being felt compared to February and recent months. So homes are closing in more quick fashion as of March of 2024. Let's look at the composition of the buyers who were in the market who purchased in March of 2024. First-time home buyers. Like to start out with them because normally those first-time home buyers have been shopping for a while, so it's great to celebrate their success in what has been a very competitive market for quite a while right now, and that is now at 32%. So in March of 2024, first-time home buyers comprised 32% of those transactions. All cash sales were at 28% in March. That's down from the 34.5% they were in February. So a little bit less cash. That kind of paves the way and leaves room for the competition of first-time home buyers and other people who are purchasing with financing. And then also in individual investors, we're not talking about institutional investors, hedge funds, private equity firms that buy up property. We're talking right now about individuals who are purchasing properties for investment purposes or for second homes, and that comprised 15%. So a little bit less of the market is being comprised of people buying vacation homes or investment properties right now. Distressed sales, this is something that we've talked about on a regular cadence now, and I've been keeping an eye on this because, like I've said in past episodes, distressed sales can give us a good indication as to where the real estate market could be going if there's going to be any softening. One of the warning signs we look to is how many properties are being sold that are distressed properties. Again, distressed sales is reflective of foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, and short sale. That comprised 2% of all of the sales in March of 2024. That is down from 3% that there was in February, but up from the 1% that it accounted for in March of 2023. So year over year, up a little bit. In the short term, down a little bit. I'm going to call that flat. Nothing really happening there to indicate anything of concern when it comes to real estate market values and the competition that's happening there. So again, we're going to revisit this inventory. We're going to still see, like I said, 3.2 months of supply that is up. So there is more available nationwide, but in particular markets, you're not particularly feeling that. You know, I know where I am here in North Jersey, it's still super competitive, and there's still not a lot of inventory out there that's pushing those prices up. As we saw, prices went up. The median price is still on an incline. They did peak in recent times. Last year, it was around 417,000 was the existing home sales median price. I believe it was back in October, November of last year. Now we've retreated a little bit, but it's swinging back up again, and it's normally indicative of low inventory and high competition, and that pushes those value points up higher. That's where we get that. Now let's look at the existing home sales for single family exclusively. I like to break this down. The devil's in the details. So we were talking about seasonally adjusted numbers. This is where I like to do the side-by-side comparison, seasonally adjusted, but then actual. Seasonally adjusted single family homes, 3.8 million sold. That is down 4.3% month over month and down 2.8% year over year. So less is happening. Not seasonally adjusted, there were 293,000 units sold. That is up 19.6% month over month, and that's down 9% year over year. So when we take the seasonality out of the equation and we just look at what's happening, you can see it's a very different picture that's being painted by that. Take that as you will. The way that I like to look at that is just to understand that there is some difference in the volume tangibly happening. Obviously, on balance, these things should be in line. But when you're talking about seasonally adjusted figures being, down a percentage, comparing 4.3% month over month down, and then the actual where you're up 19.6%, there's something happening in the calculation there, right? So that's why I like to just indicate that so that we can have all of the data at our disposal when we're trying to make decisions. The median sales price for single-family homes in March of 2024 was $397,200. That is up 2.4% month over month, and that's also up 4.7% year over year. I'm going to take a beat on that to talk a little bit about some other things that we were talking about in past episodes with relation to what it would cost to wait. So it's a common conversation that I have, and some clients that I work with are trying to figure out the right time. From an affordability standpoint, first and foremost, they're letting their personal budget dictate, which is great. But they're thinking that, well, let's wait for interest rates to settle. We'll talk more about that on Monday, but as it is right now, we really don't know when we're going to start to see tangible relief in interest rates beyond the momentary relief that we've been experiencing through the volatility, through the roller coaster that these interest rates have been going on and continue to go on from the past couple of years and into what we are seeing now is the near future in the very least. There isn't a clear path, and we need the stability to happen so that the interest rate environment is something that can be relied upon and that you're not going out shopping on a Friday and interest rates change and you come back on Monday wanting to place an offer and now you're priced out of that home because the interest rates have gone higher if you are a borrower or a prospective buyer that was looking to max out your qualification with your purchase. So that's why we want to look at these median prices, and there's an appreciation component, which is what I wanted to get to. The appreciation is staying rather consistent when we look at the median sales price for single-family homes. With that continued appreciation, I mean, it ranges, but by and large, we saw a little bit of a decline when the interest rate environment really popped up hard last year. That's when we saw the values go down. So we know that there's a tangible effect of interest rates on what people are bidding on homes. But as the interest rates go down, we're going to continue to see that appreciation. So think about it this way. In a world where interest rates become more affordable, let's just say that 6%, low 6% range, kind of akin to what we saw in January, well, that's going to push values up. So there is a delta there. There's going to be a point where there isn't much benefit to waiting and having a lower interest rate because it's highly likely, not guaranteed, but highly likely that the home value component is going to be much higher when you have every other prospective home buyer who's getting financing with access to lower interest rates than what we're seeing right now, which is averaging in the mid sevens, which is crazy compared to where we were just a few months ago. But this is the world we live in. And until inflation is properly managed and under control, this is the way it's going to be. It's going to be volatile. So I just want to take a moment to highlight that. I also have identified an error in my ways that I wanted to take a moment to apologize for. In the past, I was presenting you with the average mortgage interest rate for the month that we were doing this report on. So when I shared with you the National Association of Realtors sales data for existing homes, I was talking about what the average mortgage rate was in that month. However, it's probably more appropriate to talk about what the interest rate was the month prior. Because if you purchased a property and closed in that month, you likely locked in your mortgage rate the month before. And I'm just using what we've just talked about as my guide for that. The average closing time was 33 days, I believe it was in March 2024. So if it was 33 days, you started your mortgage process likely around 30 days prior to that closing date. Anyone, who's doing and conducting themselves appropriately in this market, you're probably locking when you first get the loan in because the market's volatile and you want to make sure your borrowers are protected, your buyers are protected. So let's take a look at what those interest rates were in February leading into March, and then that can give us probably a good idea of why we saw the type of volume that we did. So the average 30-year mortgage rate in February was 6.74%. So that's up a bit. We were, bottomed out in the beginning of this year in the low 6% range. So that moved up. So that moving up certainly impacted buying power. The range throughout the month going into March. So if there were buyers that locked their interest rate in a little bit later in the game in March, it ranged from 6.67% all the way up to close to 7%, 6.95%. That increase has made an impact on the buying power, which translates to lower sales volume because people may get priced out. And with the average, or rather the median sales price being what it is, you've got to make quite a bit of money to qualify. When we talked about qualification in the past, we're taking into account the interest rate, but also taxes, insurance. Insurance premiums have been going up throughout the country. I know in New Jersey in particular. So with the higher costs that are being felt from other things outside of the mortgage interest rate, then the mortgage interest rate obviously is going to be moving the needle rather significantly. So take all of this to understand and kind of pull it all together for you. This is a time that we're going to continue to see, possibly in the next couple months, some more softening. Maybe the value component will continue to be higher, but the amount of transactions that are going to be happening may start to cool off a little bit because of where the interest rates are currently. We're kind of stabilizing now in that mid to low 7 range, but it remains to be seen. All it is going to take is some more poor inflation data showing hotter readings or some other supporting data point that affects mortgage rates, affects the stock market, affects the bond market, and then we can start seeing interest rates continue with their volatility. But as it stands right now, things have kind of settled in. There are some opportunities here and there. Some days are better than others, and I've seen that over the past week. So some days are better than others. But for how it stands right now, keep up that open line of communication with your mortgage professional. You're encouraged to reach out to me if you have questions about your particular situation or just in general. It's important to keep that dialogue going because so much is changing so quickly in this market. That's it for me today. I hope that you found this helpful, useful, and beneficial. If you are a prospective homebuyer, feel free to share the show, provide me some feedback, like, share, subscribe. If you're a real estate professional, I hope you're enjoying these. I really do enjoy going through all of this sales data. It certainly helps me in conducting my business appropriately for my clients and for my partners. And I hope that you found this useful and will share it out with your clients to get a lay of the land as to what's going on. I look forward to catching up with you all on Monday with another mortgage rate update. We're going to go into some more educational topics about mortgage lending that can maybe help support you as a buyer in this market. Until then, have yourselves an awesome weekend and take good care.